Welcome to the Signal Pres podcast.
Welcome to the Signal Pres podcast, the place for you to learn, to grow, and to get connected to the body of Christ here at Signal Pres. I'm Joey Sherrod. I'm one of your hosts.
And I am Abby Hutto. I am also one of your hosts.
We are coming to you on a typical February day. It's gray. It's rainy.
It's sad.
It's one of those ones where like it's so damp that the cold kind of gets in your bones.
Yeah. And I think somebody just told me this, that when we woke up this morning and to now, which is right after lunch, it's been... Sorry. I just like... It's like my stomach... I said lunch and my stomach was like, she's hungry. You're welcome. It's gone down like 15 degrees. So it's colder now than it was when we woke up this morning, which is just sadness. I know.
Yeah. On a day like today, like what do you do for comfort? Like, gray day.
Yeah.
Like if you were at home, what would you do?
Yes, I would turn on our fireplace and curl up with whatever Louise Penny book I'm reading right now.
Gas logs?
Yeah. I mean, which kind of is a bummer.
No,
I like the crackle
I
of...
know. But how many more fires do you enjoy now?
We use it all the time now. And back in our old home, we had a wood burning fire, and we did that like Christmas, and that was it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, if it got really cold.
So you're still working through Louise Penny. You haven't. Yeah.
I know. I think I have I'm on book like 15 through 17 somewhere in there. Also found out Andy Cornett, our beloved.
Yeah.
Past pastor. But he's still alive,
still beloved.
Just not here. Has just started reading the Louise Penny Gamache books.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. I'm jealous. I'd love to go back.
These are set. Where in Canada are they set?
That's a great question. It's in a fictional town called Three Pines, which is like in the country, but they talk about Quebec City a lot and Montreal. So, and they kind of ping pong. They're mostly in Montreal, but then they go other places.
These like fictional towns. Like at some point, my mom loved watching Murder, She Wrote. And at some point I was like, who would want to live in Cabot Cove?
I know.
Like the fatality percentage is like 50%.
I think that about Three Pines too. I'm like, it's a small little like village. How can they have this many people murdered in it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Stay away from Three Pines.
Exactly.
You gonna get murdered. So besides fires and murder, what do you like to do on a cold gray day?
Let the record show I do not like murder.
But I do.
What do I like to do? I like to cook. I don't like shopping for like grocery shopping on days like this, but I do like cooking. So like it's a good chilly day. There's also this thing that I've been making recently that's like a chicken and coconut rice recipe that is super good. So yeah,
that does sound good.
Probably laying on the couch.
Are you like read or watch TV?
Reading, which transitions into sleeping pretty quickly. So, yeah.
That's the best kind of nap.
Exactly.
The accidental one.
Exactly. The book like falls on your face. Yeah. That's me.
Oh, well, you know what I do hope people are reading right now?
What?
Look at that segue.
Boom.
I hope you're reading your Bibles. Which also has a lot of murder in it.
That's right.
Because guess what? We're in Genesis, and there's all kind of crazy stuff in there. So if you are following along with our Bible reading plan, which let me say again, guys, you've heard me say it a million times already, but I'm just going to keep saying it all of 2026. Whenever you start the reading plan is a great time to start. Joey, when's a great time to start the reading plan?
Today
is. And guess where you would start, Joey? Where would you start if you started today?
You would start Genesis 18.
That's right. Yeah. You would not try to go and read Genesis 1 all the way to 18. You would just pick it up and say, what's today's date? Hannah Sutton has helpfully put that on my little reading guide for me. And now I'm just going to read whatever is for today. So if you've been doing the reading plan, or if you're about to.
That's right. You're ready to start.
then you would be in Genesis 18 today. So we've kind of gotten some interesting things already that we've encountered in Genesis. But one of the things, this is what's so cool about the Bible. The Bible talks about the Bible all the time. So one of the things you're going to hear about a lot in this sermon series on Galatians is circumcision, which shows up for the very first time in these chapters. So if you were wondering when Scott was talking on Sunday about what is this gift of circumcision that this person in character in his mind was talking to Titus about, then let's hear about that. Joey, would you talk to us a little bit about circumcision and covenants and all those things?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this in a couple different ways. One has to do with the relationship between the promise that's made to Abraham or Abram, and then what circumcision is in relationship to that. And this is really helpful to think about this in terms of Galatians, because we're going to circle back around to this in Galatians 3, which we'll probably hit
soon.
Yeah,
soon.
Maybe sometime in late March, I think. But in Genesis 12, God calls Abraham. And there's this, we talked about this last season, this principle for how we understand reading our Bibles, which we called like progressive revelation. So the story of the Bible doesn't, like all good stories, it doesn't tell us the entire thing at the beginning, but things begin to unfold. So in Genesis 12, God calls Abram, tells him to leave his family and to follow him. And God progressively unfolds this vision for who it is that Abram will be and his place in God's plan to rescue the entire world. And in Genesis 15, Abram, who at this point is getting on in years, and his wife, Sarai, she has not been able to bear a child. God says to Abram, "Fear not, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great." And then he takes him outside and says to look up at the sky and says, like, your offspring will be the number of the stars that you see right now. And this is not a self-evident thing to Abram. You know, it seems like he is past the time of being able to have a child. But it says in Genesis 15:6, and he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness. Like God counts it to him as righteousness. So this is this picture of faith. He trusts God. And then in Genesis 17, God...
Wait, pause.
Sorry.
Can I say something real fast?
Yeah.
I really like how Romans talks about this, because when Paul refers back to this moment, he talks about how he considered his body. I just thought that was a really funny way of saying, like, it wasn't like blind. Like, it wasn't like he was just like, oh, okay, God, and then believed. But like, he actually thought about it. He's like, this body is dead. But then he considered the one who was making the promise. So he considered the facts. Then he considered the one making the promise. And he considered that the one making the promise was faithful. And I just think to me, that's helpful, because I think sometimes we feel like faith is a faith that doesn't consider things. It's just supposed to blindly accept whatever's being told. And there's like, you get to that point at some point where you're like, I just have to believe and trust. But we get to that point after considering, which I just think is kind of interesting.
I think in terms of themes of Genesis, not to get too far off track here, but I do think that there's two themes in Genesis that I think complement one another. One is God's determination to bless people who, like, in spite of their behavior, not because of their behavior. So if you think about Abraham,
he tries so hard to get out of this blessing.
That's right.
By sabotaging it.
Exactly. And then the same thing with, certainly with Jacob. So that's one theme. God's like persistence to his determination to make sure his plan unfolds through the people he's chosen, which is something that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? But the second thing is the ways in which, like, the difference between people who see by faith and who see by sight. And there are people who look at things and they think, well, my eyes see it this way, and so this is how it must be. And Abram is one who, in this point, he's not, he's living by faith, not by sight.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And so in Genesis 17, God unfolds again, makes this basically says this promise again. And along with it, God invites him to, as in correspondence to the sign, to practice circumcision, which is like a sign of the covenant.
Right? I like how you said that. He invites him. I wonder if Abraham felt invited into the practice of circumcision.
Right. In his better moments, he did. So that is a visible sign that corresponded to the promise. And the order of that is important, because one of the things that we're going to come back to in Galatians at the end of chapter 3 is how Paul reminds people of the history of the Bible and says, like, which came first, the promise or the sign. And that order is important, like that the promise is more fundamental than the sign. And so for people who, like the teachers within the Galatian church, who were making the sign fundamental to being a part of God's covenant family and being in right relationship with God, having that righteousness that it talks about in Genesis 15, he's saying, no, the promise was always more fundamental than the sign, which is how we think about the relationship between faith and works, right? That faith is more fundamental than works, that Abraham practiced circumcision as a response, an outflow of his faith, but it's not his faith. His faith is in the God who is alive and at work, and gives people whose bodies are as good as dead new life.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting that this one man's experience gets replayed over and over and over again in the New Testament, that this is like fundamental to how we understand and our salvation and how we understand the gift of grace and faith and our works, how all of that is rightly ordered. And it's interesting too to think about like how important it was that it happened in this order. Like, I'm sure to Abraham, it's happening and it's unfolding and he doesn't even notice. But this is the thing that Paul goes back to, at least in 2 of his letters, to say how very important it is that he was counted as righteous, then he was circumcised, and that the righteousness came before the circumcision. It's just kind of one of those interesting like things in our lives where we're like, that felt like it didn't even matter. Like it was just something, like I just did what I was told, and yet it gets referenced back to, like, it's something we can look back on and say, that was so important, the events and how they happened, and in building our faith.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Well, it's interesting.
Yes, it is interesting. And it is just a reminder that, like, our Bibles make sense. You know, I mean, there's 66 books put together over a millennia, you know, from different authors and writers, and yet it coheres.
Yeah.
It really hangs together.
Wait, can I say my thing about Sarah now then?
Okay, yeah.
Because we're about to talk about Genesis 18. Okay, so cool thing. If you were reading this morning or today, or whenever you read Genesis 18, there's this whole thing about, and we can talk about this. I'm sure we have actually talked about this already on the podcast, but God coming, visiting with Abraham, talking to him about the fact that, like, in a year from now, Sarah will have a son, and she laughs. And it's not a laugh like mine. It's not a happy laugh. It's a cynical laugh. And it's a laugh that's sad, because if Abraham is 99, she's probably, I don't know, old. She's old.
Yeah.
I don't know how old she was, but I think she's 10 years younger.
Yeah.
So she's 89. So anyways, and she laughs a cynical laugh, and the response the Lord said to Abraham, is anything too hard for the Lord? But if you look down in your little footnotes, actually what he says there can also be translated, is anything too wonderful for the Lord? And later on, like, the obvious answer to that is no, nothing is too hard and nothing is too wonderful for the Lord to do for us. And then later on in Luke 18, which is where you would have also been this morning, we have Jesus saying almost the exact same words. So the rich young ruler comes, asks him how to inherit eternal life. Jesus looks at him and sees that there's something in him that is enslaving him. And so he says, when Jesus heard this, he said to him, sell everything that you have and come and follow me. And the man went away sad. And the disciples say, well, how difficult. Like, who can enter into the kingdom of God? Like, if this rich young ruler who already had so much blessing from God, and in their minds, they equated wealth with God's affection and blessing, which is not correct, but that's how they saw it. They said, who can be saved? And Jesus responds, what is impossible with man is possible with God. So it's just fun to see, like, Sarah and this rich young ruler are separated by, I don't even know how many years, so many years. And yet the same God says to Sarah, is anything too hard or too wonderful for me to do? And Jesus, the Word made flesh, comes and says the same thing. What is impossible with man is possible with God. So it's just fun to see how our scripture connects and in ways that don't even make sense all the time. We're like, wait, that same thing. I just read that in Genesis. Such a beautiful way to see God's heart being displayed again and again and again and again from generation to generation to generation. Yeah. So
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right after that, in Genesis 18.
Well, before can I
say one more thing. Sorry, I thought we were ready to
again. Yeah, I just a helpful thing for people to think about as they think about the relationship between covenant promises and covenant signs is that this is how God works throughout all of salvation history, and it actually helps us understand something that happens in worship with fairly regular frequency. So whenever God makes a covenant promise in the Bible, like he always gives a concrete physical sign that corresponds to that. And so you think about the promise that God makes to Noah, which we've already read about, Genesis 8 and Genesis 9. Makes a promise, I will never again destroy the earth in the way that I did, never again flood it with waters. And then God says, and to confirm this promise, I'll set my bow in the heavens. And so the rainbow is the covenant sign that corresponds to the covenant promise that God makes to Noah, the Noahic covenant.
Wait, say it again.
Noahic. It's the hardest name. You can say like Abrahamic, great. Mosaic, great. Davidic, great.
Wait, I want to try. Noahic.
Yeah, that's right.
That does sound weird.
It just sounds like you're like clearing your throat or something like that.
I've gurgled so far, and now I'm clearing my throat. What else will she do on this podcast?
Keep listening to find out. But in Abraham, so the Abrahamic covenant, God makes a promise, that I will make you of you a great nation. Through your family, I will bless all of the nations of the earth. Then God gives the sign of circumcision. And then in the Mosaic covenant, God makes a promise as he delivers his people. He's going to take them to the promised land and bring them there. He gives them the sign of the Passover. So we see this pattern of what God does. And when we think about that within a New Testament perspective, the new covenant is in continuity with the old covenant, but it's better. And so, the new covenant sign is no longer circumcision as the sign of including people in God's covenant family, but now it's baptism. Baptism is the sign of including people in that. And we think about why God does this, right? I mean, it's like cool to see, but like what's the reason? And I think the reason is that God knows that like our faith needs strengthening and encouraging. And so he gives us these tactile physical signs that we can look back on or enjoy in the present as a way of reminding ourselves of like the strength of his promise with all of our senses. And so when we think about, the one that we enjoy with great frequency is the Lord's Supper, right? Like God has made promises to us about what his life and death and resurrection mean for us. And those are good promises, and they're backed up with the embodied existence of a Jewish man, 2,000 years ago. But sometimes our faith needs strengthening because our faith is weak And so God didn't say, toughen up, make your faith stronger.
Remember that one time I told you that thing. Remember
exactly.
it.
Right, exactly. Come on. But he gave us a sign that would renew us in that. And so we can, God says, this is my body, do this in remembrance of me.
Mm-hmm.
This cup is the new covenant poured out of my blood for the forgiveness of sins. Drink this in remembrance of me. The same thing's true for baptism. For us, we don't remember our baptism in the same way that a little Jewish boy didn't remember his circumcision either. But we can look back on it and say and remember, this thing happened for me. And also when somebody else is being baptized, we can remember it for ourselves as well. We can look at it and say, there's this, in the Westminster Larger Catechism, question 167 is this, the question is, what does it mean to improve upon your baptism? And there's this long answer. This is really beautiful. This is why we have these documents in our church that basically say, like, I've received my baptism, but I can enjoy it more by remembering all these good things that I get through it. And so Google Westminster Larger Catechism, question 167. And it's really remarkable. It's really beautiful. And I don't know. I forgot to, last time I said I'm going to put this in the show notes. I didn't, but maybe I'll remember to do that.
I'll make a note.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful to think about, like the signs, because the signs remind us of the promise that was already made. And I think about like what it was like for Noah. Like he had to have had some PTSD, like the first time it rained after he was on land, to be like, oh no.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And like generations that followed him that knew his story and, had been through, by listening to the stories of their parents, like just this question in your heart, has God gone back on his promise? But then you would see the rainbow and you would remember, no, God's doing a promise to me. And in the same way, like all these other signs that were given, like I think about the Lord's Supper, especially like every month we gather together. And I love the way that Jesus says, do this as often as you drink it, or the covenant, the cup that's the covenant of his blood, in remembrance of me. And remembering, like every time we take the Lord's Supper, it's a sign to remember that Jesus died for me. And therefore, God's not gonna at some point look at me and say, she needs to pay for what she's done. Because every month we remember together, no, God's paid for this. Like this has been taken care of. And we're doing, like, every time we eat this bread, every time we drink this cup, we remember Christ's death until he returns. Because that's how long we're going to need to remember that judgment has been satisfied and that we live free and as beloved children of God. So I love the signs because the words are helpful. But anybody who's had an anxious heart knows this, or anybody who parents an anxious heart knows that you can say all the words in the world, but what we actually need are tangible things when we're afraid.
That's right. Yeah.
We need those signs. We need a hug. We need someone whose embodied presence is with us. And these signs are these physical, tangible things that remind us when we're anxious that God is for us.
And God doesn't begrudge us for that. He gives it to us.
Freely.
He knows our frame. Yeah.
And so now was the time I was supposed to say the thing about Sarah.
Now,
but I jumped
Now we're
ahead.
ready. Go for it.
So we'll move on to the second part.
The second part, yes.
Of Genesis 18. Sorry. So at the end of Genesis 18, after we get to hear Sarah laugh, we have such an interesting story that we can't unpack fully, but this interesting story of Abraham and God revealing to Abraham what he's about to do, the judgment that he's about to bring on the city of Sodom, and Abraham pleading with God to stay his hand. Because who lives in Sodom now?
Lot.
And that's Abraham's nephew, who Abraham loves and cares for.
And this is just a picture of that living by faith, living by sight, because they could look at the land, Abraham and Lot do in Genesis 13, I think. And Lot looks at Sodom and Gomorrah and he's like, this place looks so fertile, so verdant. And then
he
Abraham
chooses what he can
that.
see.
Yeah, he chooses it. And Abram looks at Canaan, which I don't think looked quite as nice.
No.
The Negev.
Yeah.
I believe that's called a desert.
Yeah. And only when the water flows does it bear
Yeah.
flowers.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. And so Abraham and God have such an interesting exchange here where we see over and over and over again, Abraham saying, would you spare this city if there's 50 righteous? Well, what about if there's 45? Well, and the number keeps going down and down and down, which is a really sad state of recognizing that there were, like Abraham realizing, there's not 45 righteous people. And this, I've heard Tim Keller preach on this, and he talks about this is what intercession looks like when we care very deeply about a place that is broken and we are asking God to rescue and save. And ultimately, if you'll, as you continue to read, that was my prayer alarm. I will say the Lord's Prayer right after this. Goodness, I'm a hot mess on this episode. Sorry.
If you were wondering what would happen next, that was it.
But we see Abraham pleading for his love of Lot. And here's what I find fascinating about this story. And I want to hear any thoughts that you have about it. We have no evidence that Abraham actually found out that Lot was rescued. He kept asking God, would you save him? Would you save him? And the story ends with, at the end of 18, where he says, and the Lord went his way. He said, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. Then the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Then we have the whole story, which you will read tomorrow if you're reading along in our plan. But when you get to the end of that story, Lot does escape. God does spare Lot for love of Abraham. He spares Abraham's nephew and his family. And then it tells us that in the morning, Abraham stood where he had stood before, and he looked down. It says, and Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the valley, and looked, and behold, the smoke of the land went up like the smoke of a furnace. And so he sees that destruction has happened. And then after this chapter, I don't think Lot shows up again. There's no hard evidence that Abraham was and God heard and answered my prayer. Because what he saw was that the city had been destroyed. Yeah. And I think it's just another, to me, having read this story before, just another testimony to Abraham's faith. Am I right about that? Or are you, your face looks different?
I just have never thought about that. So I'm currently thinking about it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and just that Abraham continued to be faithful to God, even though he may not have seen the fruit of his prayer. But God listened, and God did for Abraham what Abraham longed for. What Abraham really wanted was for his nephew to be saved. And even though God didn't answer his prayer exactly how Abraham asked for it, which was spare the city, he did spare the son for the love of his nephew. So I just think to me, that's such an encouraging story to keep coming back to God in prayer. Which we've seen in the parables that we were reading this week of people who just continue to come back to God in prayer, knowing that he listens, knowing that he will answer. And even if we don't see in our lifetime the answer to our prayers, we know his heart and we trust his heart and we trust him to be good.
Yeah, that's great.
So do you have any other thoughts on Abraham and the pleading priest?
Yeah, no, I think what you said is really well put. And then just an invitation. I think Abraham models a boldness with God in prayer that I think but it's not, I think so often when I think about boldness, I think about boldness for myself, but he's bold for someone else and for a city, and for his nephew. So, yeah.
That's a really beautiful example for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially in our year of prayer.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So we're going to finish out. Are we ready to finish out?
Ready to finish out.
I'm not doing the best, so I'm just looking to you for confirmation. Are we? Are we ready to finish out? We are.
Yes.
So we're going to finish out with a new set of 5 questions. So last year, our 5 questions were based on Scripture because that's where we were in our year together. We were in our year of Scripture, and now our 5 ending questions have a different focus because we're in a different year. So I'm going to ask Joey first.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joey, you'll ask me.
Like first one, second one, second one? Is that what
I'm going to go through all 5.
Oh, dang. Okay. Well, prospective podcast guests, be warned. This
yeah,
is
you
what
get to hear them. Yeah,
know.
that's right.
Yeah.
You get to hear them first. Okay, so since we're in the year of prayer, Joey, we would love to know, what does your prayer life look like right now?
Right now, my prayer life looks like I try to pray through the Psalms once a month. And so I have a little psalter that, with a PS, not a S, a psalter that has it divided up for me. And so I try to pray through a few Psalms in the morning when I get up. And we'll kind of I'm learning to use that as a way, not just to pray for myself, but to pray for other people as well. And some other prayers will come from that. I have various times where I'm praying with other people on staff as well. So our adult discipleship team, we pray together every Tuesday. And then, usually Kate and I will pray together right before we fall asleep, or sometimes during when I am actively falling asleep as well. So yeah, that's the main way that I do that. And my 1:30 in the afternoon is my Lord's Prayer prayer timer. So that's when I do that. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, do you have, now we're going to talk about favorites. Do you have either a favorite prayer that you like to pray that brings you comfort, or do you have any favorite advice you were given on prayer?
Yeah. I do have favorite prayer. I mean, so many of the Psalms have become very good friends. And I do have advice, but I'm blanking on it right now. I do think this is sort of a different answer to that. But one of my favorite books is basically an extended prayer, and that's the Confessions by Augustine. And that book is one long prayer where he's praying his life and things he's thinking through back to God. And
I didn't know that.
Pretty formative for me. So, yeah.
I would say so, since you have a book coming out about Augustine. So we've talked about which prayer life looks like, some favorite things about prayer. What about the hardest thing for you about prayer?
I think the hardest thing about me for prayer, and definitely the growing edge right now, is just to pray more actively and intentionally and organized for other people. Yeah. I think I'm pretty good at praying for myself when I'm praying.
Heard.
When I do that. But yeah, I think particularly sort of non-urgent needs that have to do with things beyond my immediate family. So yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Question number 4. Who is someone who has shown you Jesus?
Yeah, so many people. Think about mentors, think about friends, think about Kate, think about my boys, Joseph and James. But I do think in the most recent season of my life, my most immediate experience of the presence of Jesus has been through my 5 pastor friends who I am in regular contact with and Zoom with once a week.
And one of them was a guest on our podcast.
That's right.
We got to get your other pastor friends to be guests.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. Mark, Andy, Tanner, Brandon, Joshua. Yeah, they show me Jesus in lots of ways. And yeah.
That's wonderful. You have a sweet tribe. All right, last. What did you do your staff TED Talk on?
Yeah, I did my staff TED Talk on how soccer helps us think about friendship and life. So,
a very Ted Lasso
like 5
of you.
Points. Yes, this was pre-Ted Lasso.
What? Maybe you were the inspiration.
I wish I could take credit for that. But yeah, I talked about like life is less like baseball, which has to do with like an encounter with someone else, right? You think about being in the batting box and there's a pitcher. But soccer is all about space and who the people are around you in space and how like they support you and make you have different decisions. And so like friendship. Also, I showed a video of a goal that Belgium scored against Japan in the 2018 World Cup and broke that down from multiple angles and said, look at this. And so I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah.
But that's about all I can say about that. So just ready to talk about one of the things I love.
Yeah. Yeah. How old were you when you first started playing soccer?
Probably like 6 or so, 6 or 7.
And you played through high school or college?
I played through high school.
Yeah.
Yes, I played like intramurals in college, which was fun. But
that is fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Take a lifelong love and make a TED Talk out of it.
Exactly. All right. What about for you? Turning it around. What does your prayer life look like right now?
It looks like prayer alarms going off. So I already had as a practice that I have 4 alarms that go off during the day. So I have one that goes off at 9, one that goes off at noon, 3, and 6. And those are strategically planned for my heart. So at 9, I am just starting my workday, full of hope of all the things I might get done. But by lunch.
Exactly. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. That's what Mike Tyson said.
Oh,
right?
man. But by lunch, I'm usually like, oh, okay. This morning did not go as planned. By 3, I'm already discouraged. But by
That's
6,
pretty long,
I need to leave it and go home. And so like in my heart, I need to be at home. And so those prayer alarms have always helped me kind of center myself in the day in who Christ is and his love for me, independent of what I do. And so now I pray the Lord's Prayer 4 times a day with whoever is there, but apparently not while on a podcast.
Exactly.
You've been with me when my prayer alarm has gone off, and I needed prompting to help me get back on the Lord's Prayer because I confused myself. Because I was trying to do what Joey said in the Bible study, which is personalize it, but then I personalized it so much I couldn't remember where I was. So that's what it looks like for me. It looks like a lot of the Lord's Prayer, which is awesome. Like I've never done this before, so it's been really fun.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Well, what for you, do you have any favorite prayers or any advice about prayer or any particular ways of prayer?
I would say by favorite advice, I read Paul. Which one? Miller.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like, it wasn't Paul Tripp. It was Paul Miller.
Apostle.
Paul the Apostle. Paul Miller's book, A Praying Life, years ago. And it was so helpful because I really have always felt I was not very good at prayer. And felt like that was like my major weakness spiritually. Come to find I'm just a scattered prayer, and that's okay. And so that book was extremely helpful to help me realize like there's so many different ways of praying, and that the Father welcomes all of it. But it also gave me good tips on like prayer cards and how to pray a little more in a little more of an organized fashion. Yeah. And so that book it was just so encouraging to me. And I've gone back and read it so many times. So that's been that's been some good advice.
Yeah. Well, third question. What do you find most difficult about prayer?
Well, in the last lesson that you wrote that I just did, had us break down our percentages of prayer.
Yes. That was hard for me too.
Shaming. And I realized like, oh my goodness, the lion's share of my prayers are about me. And I would love to say that like a big portion of them are about my children, but they're not. I pray for myself. They're grown-ups. They can pray for themselves. So, and what I think I should have put as 0%, but I think maybe I've prayed every once in a while about the concerns of the world, but like I hardly ever pray about like the global concerns of the world. And that made me sad because the Lord cares about those things. And I want to be someone who cares about the things he cares about. Not, because I'm ashamed that I don't, but just because I want to love what he loves. So, and I want to pray like he prays. So I would love to grow in that area.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. What about, you've already answered this question once.
Yeah.
But lots of people get to show us Jesus. And so who's someone who has shown you Jesus?
Yeah. Well, I'll probably answer this one a little more in line with the prayer vein. My mama is a praying soul. She prays in middle of conversation. She prays for parking spaces. She has a list of children who have walked away from the faith in her Bible that she just prays until she can mark their name off the list because they've returned to the Lord. Like, she's one of those people that, like, when my dad retired from his last church, that he was a pastor of a fairly large church in Charlotte, North Carolina, and at his retirement service, the place was filled. There were like almost 3,000 people there, and when they brought my mom up on the stage, she got a standing ovation. That's cool. And it's like, she just stood there and like tears like flowing down her face because she had prayed for so many people in that room. And that's been cool. Such a gift to have a mother who does not give me advice so much as she prays for me. And I need that. And I need to learn to be more like that. I want to be more like that.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to be someone who prays.
Yeah, that's great.
Continually.
Cool.
So,
well, last question. We already heard about your TED Talk, which had to do with murder, which you've already talked about today. But what is...
I've already mentioned more than once in this.
That's right. Our fallback question is, what's an interesting fact about you that we would be surprised to know? So, Abby.
I don't have that many interesting facts. So I am just going to go with the one that I just bragged about with my doctor, because it just came from a doctor's appointment. So I never grew up running. Like, aerobic activity was not something I embraced, like, ever. Until...
You put that delicately. I appreciate that.
Until I got diagnosed with IBS, and probably, like 14 years ago. And my doctor was like, well, you can either like take medicine for this, or you can try running. And I was like, well, I've never tried running before, so maybe I'll try that. And it was awful at first. Like, I would run like a tiny lap and be completely out of breath and thought I was dying. But over the course of the 10 years, I ran several half marathons, and I completed a full marathon in 2022. Yes. Is that right? Yeah. 2022. I did the 7 bridges here. And that was before I even knew I was going to move here. So that was really fun.
I used to see your brother training for that race.
Yes. Because he ran it with me.
And your brother-in-law was running ahead of your brother.
Oh my gosh.
It was for fun.
Just for fun. Because that's what Denver does. He runs and talks the whole time. He's the best person to run with. I've actually done many races with him. The fastest half I ever did was with Denver, because he talked to everyone we passed, and then he just kept speeding up, even though I told him, like, this is the pace I want to go. It was so great. But that was such
more people to talk to.
Yeah, that's right. We've got more people to catch up to. But that was such a fun experience, because my brother from New Orleans and Nathan, my brother in Denver, my brother-in-law, we all ran it together, and it was such a fun. And by together, I mean we started together, and then Speedy Aaron finished really fast, and then I was last. Yeah. But it was really fun. So I've gotten back into running again, and I took a break after that. And
is it permissible on the podcast to talk about the little running community that's here on staff?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, when we have our next guest on the podcast, it shall be Tyler Haar, who is my running coach.
Oh, that's right.
So that's fun. So I'm sure this will come back up. But we've started, like, I've gotten texts about it, so I know people see us. We run at the Smack track. We have a little running club that we've started. And by club, I mean anybody who wants to come. So if you see us at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday running around the Smack track, please join in.
Yeah. And so it's you.
Oh yeah. So it's me and Hannah and Lydia. My Hannah. Yeah. Hannah, who is training with me for our next race, which is in the Music City in Nashville. Super excited about that. Lydia, who is also going to run with us in that race. And Lydia and I are going to run together. And Maddie Livingston, who's in our run club, is going to run with Hannah, because they're pretty speedy, and I'm not that fast. I'm going to try to keep up with
athletes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'm just going to try to keep up with Lydia. We'll do great. And then Ricky Lynn just comes because she's great. She's not training for anything. She's just like, oh, you guys are fun. I'll come. And then she's super fast. But you don't have to be super fast.
Yeah.
To join the
That's great.
Signal Press Run Club.
Yeah.
We've invited you. We've invited you. You just haven't come. You have your own thing.
Otherwise preoccupied.
Also, we've invited Scott, but he's never come either.
But I was the Chattanooga Fellows. We get to have the Chattanooga Fellows at our church, and we support them as a church. Many of them are running the same race, I believe.
What?
Yeah,
I
was
didn't
talking
know
to- yeah,
this.
so-
This is exciting.
Look at
Okay,
this.
we're just gonna have
You
to
do
all
what you
meet
love.
up.
People
Yeah. This is what C.S.
get
Lewis
around it.
talks about.
Exactly.
Doing what you love, and then you're like, oh, you too.
Exactly. There's no better way to end a podcast than a C.S. Lewis quote.
That's
so
right.
I think we're about done.
Let's end while we're not too far behind.
Yeah. So let's say I'm listening to this podcast. I'm like, man, you know what? I've been meaning to read my Bible. And I'm like, I look at the reading plan. I'm like, but where do I start?
Oh my gosh, you start today.
Start today. That's right.
You start today. And we have journals available. And you can find that on the formation page on our website. You can find the Bible reading plan and journals. And the journals are super helpful. They just keep you on track. I don't think I would still be doing the reading plan if I didn't have something to tell me to do it every day and help me do it. And so
it's a good thing.
We would love to help you in any way we can. Or you can also pick up a reading guide anywhere around the building because I've placed them everywhere but the bathroom stalls. I might do that.
Yep. That's nice.
Just for fun.
Well, next week we are scheduled to have Tyler Haar with us.
My coach,
Coach
also
Haar.
known as an elder here at Signal Press.
He's still waiting on him to accept our request to be our first sponsor of the podcast, besides the church. The church is our first sponsor. And yeah, we've got some other people lined up as well.
We do. We have some really fun guests lined up.
It's going to happen. And so keep reading. And
happy reading.
We will see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Signal Press podcast. I want to thank our extensive production team, beginning with Matt Broom, sound man extraordinaire.
And thank you to Hannah Sutton and Jackie Carpenter for helping us out with all of our technical difficulties and making it possible for you to listen to this podcast.